Whenever there is any news of an African country seeking diplomatic relations with Russia, the West sends warnings to that country, saying that Russia is trying to take control of the country and its resources. In fact, the Western media always paint Russia as the boogeyman who is interested in wreaking havoc and causing destabilization on the African continent. After Niger, once a critical partner of the United States, chose to partner with Russia in terms of defense, the United States sent a warning through its top army commander that the Russians were trying to take over the entire Sahel region of Africa. In every African country, the West, particularly the US and France, has been putting pressure on these countries not to partner with Russia because, supposedly, Russia is evil and out to get them. However, despite all their efforts, African countries have chosen to ignore those pressures and seek diplomatic relations with Russia. One such African country is the island nation of Mauritius. In April, the Mauritian ambassador to Russia, Keswar Janki, took part in the African International Congress, AIC, held in Moscow from April 5th to 6th, where he shared his view on how Africa should react to shifts in the global economic structure and called for the establishment of a new world order. After the meeting, the ambassador revealed to the media how Russia's efforts have contributed to the growth of his country's economy. He noted that in light of the rapidly changing global landscape, Russia has grown in prominence as a player for the small island country. Recently, the Russian ambassador to Mauritius, Konstantin Klimovsky, revealed to the media that, despite pressure from the West, Mauritius is committed to deepening its ties with Moscow. Despite the pressure from the collective West, Mauritius is still determined to actively develop bilateral cooperation based on the traditional friendly relations between our countries, he said. Speaking to the media, the Mauritian ambassador to Russia revealed that both Russia and Mauritius have concluded a number of memoranda of understanding in several areas, including education, the military, and fishing. With lots of changes at the international level and with the diversification of the economy of Mauritius, I think Russia has become a very important player and an important partner for Mauritius. I have signed a lot of MOUs, and we are finalizing several MOUs with the Russian Federation, Janki stated. Similarly, the ambassador added that Mauritius also has lots of opportunities to offer Russia. I have already requested that some shipping companies go to Mauritius. In the fishing industry, for example, we have already signed a memorandum of understanding. I think it is going to Mauritius to develop the shipping, or how we call it, the blue economy, Janki mentioned. Additionally, Janki noted that Mauritius is interested in Russia's expertise in constructing tourist and transport infrastructure and invited Russian investors to take part in infrastructure projects and invest in hotels and smart cities in his country. Furthermore, Janki mentioned that he had invited Russian Prime Minister Mikhail Mishustin to the African island nation so that he could see the opportunities the country has for Russian investors, adding that bilateral relations have to be maintained. Regarding trade relations, Mr. Janki stated that Mauritius is interested in Russian fertilizers as well as in fish products and beef, while the latter imports sugar, tuna, and many other products. Moreover, Mauritius is also interested in importing Russian petrol and petroleum products, including jet fuel. Moving on, Janki revealed that within a few months, direct flights from Russia to Mauritius will be launched, and in this regard, Mauritius is currently working with Russian Aeroflot Airlines. He also added that the relevant work has been underway since January 2022. In terms of finances, Mr. Janki revealed that Mauritius is currently working with Russia to ensure that the country can accept Russian MIR banking cards so that the stay of Russian tourists in the country is more comfortable. Speaking about the upcoming Russia-Africa summit to be held this summer in St. Petersburg, the ambassador named the main topics for discussion, including defense. Mauritius recently signed an agreement with the Russian Ministry of Defense regarding assistance in ensuring maritime security in the region. He noted that the agreement can also contribute to the modernization of the army and police, as well as to the fight against drug trafficking. In addition, Mr. Janki noted that both countries will discuss the development of training programs in several areas, including technologies and communication systems that could help in detecting cyclones, Recently, Mauritius has become one of the African nations that suffered from Cyclone Freddy's drastic consequences. According to Janki, the island nation has a very powerful electrical system, and the government provides a lot of means to fight the cyclone's impact. Education is also another crucial sphere of cooperation between Russia and Mauritius. Janki stressed that the USSR was one of the first countries to establish official relations with Mauritius, only 2 weeks after it had gained independence, noting that many Mauritians studied in the USSR and then in Russia, receiving scholarships and studying engineering, medicine, and other specialties. According to him, Russian universities are interested in holding an exchange of students and teaching staff, training, and even the development of courses. So, as you can see, the cooperation between Russia and China is pretty extensive, and it comes with no conditions, just like China's kind of cooperation with African countries. The cooperation is based on fair trade and mutual benefits, and Russia is not trying to influence the political or economic affairs of Mauritius. This kind of diplomatic and trade cooperation between Russia and Mauritius is completely different from the kind of cooperation the West, such as the United States and France, have with African countries. The West believes that it is superior and knows better than African countries, and that is why, even in trade cooperation, it tries to dictate what should be done in areas not even related to trade. Take the Nigeria-US relationship, for instance. After the Niger coup and the French forces were kicked out, the military government of Niger minded its business and did not respond when the US suspended aid and defense cooperation with them. The government of Niger still allowed the defense cooperation between Niger and the United States to continue, though it was suspended by the US government itself. However, as soon as Niger started discussing military cooperation with Russia, that's when the US decided to have a meeting with the government of Niger on the way forward. Instead of the US focusing on discussing ways its self-imposed suspension could resume, the US decided to add as a condition to its resumption of defense cooperation with Niger, the end of any partnership between Niger and Russia. This is the superiority complex we are talking about. How can you come into someone's country where you are not even helping to solve its problem and demand that if they want you to stay, they have to stop relating to someone who they feel would help them? Does that even make any sense? Nobody tells the United States who to partner with, right? So, who gave them the right to dictate who African countries should partner with? It seems the West forgets that Africa is no longer a continent full of colonies, but a continent filled with sovereign and independent African countries. This superiority complex and attitude of always wanting to step beyond their limit is one of the reasons why Africa is choosing to ignore the West and chose Russia and China as reliable partners. For decades, the preferred partners of the African continent have been the West. But what have African countries got to show for it? Since the world has grown so interconnected that it's not possible for the African continent to shut down partnerships with any foreign country and choose to develop by itself, the best thing is to look for other partners that would work with them on equal footing. The interesting thing is that Russia doesn't care that African countries are partnering with the West, and contrary to what the media would make you believe, Russia is just trying to remove itself from an isolation caused by the sanctions imposed by the West. In fact, Russia through BRICS is pushing for a multipolar world, where every country's opinion matters and every country is involved in global issues, instead of the world we live in right now, where only the US and its allies decide on global issues and can punish anyone that stands in its way. Interestingly, in their superiority and arrogance, the West believes that the reason why Africa is choosing Russia as its preferred partner is because Russia influenced them through disinformation campaigns. If you go through articles in Western media talking about this issue, you will see that it's said that Russia has been spreading false news about the West to turn the minds of African countries against the West. First of all, this is an insult to Africans, because it would mean that the African people are so dumb that they are easily influenced and can't decide for themselves. Secondly, it's highly hypocritical of the West to say such when they do the exact same thing. The West has used the media to portray Africa as a continent that needs its help and can't help itself. The West has used the media to change the narrative of African leaders who stood up against them, calling them dictators and human rights abusers. The West has used the media to make the world believe what it wants it to believe. So, if there is anyone who has been sponsoring disinformation campaigns, the West should be at the forefront. The fact is, after the US sanctioned Russia for invading Ukraine, African countries have realized that the West was not a friend and could turn against them whenever it liked. This is why Africa is turning to Russia. Honestly, there is no stopping it. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.